let's talk about feeding your starter. There's a couple reasons why you might feed your starter. It might just be hungry and you're just trying to keep it alive so it's ready when you want to bake. Or you want to bake and so you're getting it ready for baking day. So I have some starter here that's deflated, it's hungry, it needs to eat. And so I'm gonna take a little bit of that starter, and I have my scale here. Okay, I'm gonna have to piece together videos. It is crazy in my house. There's always someone coming and going and something happening and interruptions, so I apologize if it looks like it's chopped together, that is why. So we're gonna feed some starter, just to feed it, just to keep it alive, not for baking day. So I'm using a plastic bowl on my scale here. You always see, don't use stainless steel. I generally don't, but sometimes I do, and I have not had any problems. So it's not science, but I just sometimes it's the only clean bowl in the house, so I use stainless steel, I mix it up. I wouldn't store my sourdough in stainless steel because it is acidic, and whenever you put something acidic in stainless steel, it can have like a chemical reaction. It's like, I think it can erode the stainless steel. I don't know, it's not good. Yeah, kind of not supposed to store tomatoes in stainless steel, some kind of idea, or leaches something out, something. I would not store your sourdough in stainless steel. I'd use something plastic or glass. So, okay. Plastic bowl, scale. I am putting my scale in grams. I like using grams. They're just easy to deal with. It's mass instead of like mass and volume and weight, and our American system is confusing. So I use grams, much easier. And I'm gonna take about 50 grams of this hungry starter. It's probably not quite that much. I try to keep my hands out of my sourdough when I'm mixing things up. It's only about 28 grams. Apparently I'm not a very good estimator of weight. Mass. Like this. Yep, and just a little bit, bud. Okay, now 51, exactly. So I've got that looks like about like that much, not very much. So some people think, oh, I just feed all that starter that's there, but you actually don't want to do that because you just end up with too much. I'd have to look up the like scientific reason for that, but I think it's that you just end up with too much of like waste products of and then what you want is just a little bit of the yeast and then fresh flour and water, and then it eats through all that yeast. It's like it's already got stuff it's eaten through, and then it's trying to eat through the flour that's there. It just don't get as good of a rise. So that's why you don't feed like the whole entire thing. And then it would just keep getting bigger and bigger, and you would have so much you wouldn't know what to do with it, but it wouldn't do well either. Okay, and I'm just feeding this, again, just to keep it alive. So I'm just gonna give it about, oh gosh, I'll probably do about 50, I don't normally do it this way. I have to think about it for a minute. I usually do it to make bread, so I add a lot more. I'm just gonna do about 25 grams of water and 50 grams of flour. So I'm gonna tare my scale, bring it back to 0 here. I'm just adding, and I'm at 26, that is okay. Go over a little, just add a little bit more. A little bit more. You guys will laugh here. This is my flour. I start in a 5-gallon pail, because I make a lot of bread, and I buy big bags of it at Costco. I'm gonna tare this again, so I put 25 grams of water. I'm gonna put twice as much flour. So I'm putting 50 grams of flour in here. Okay, 51, which is great, which actually doesn't matter. And I'm just gonna stir this around here. It's just a very small ball of dough that I'm gonna get here. This is our long, skinny scraper from Pampered Chef. I do use this for stirring a lot. I'm gonna get my hands involved here because I really wanted to bring this together into a ball. And you might look at it and think, oh, it needs more water. Sometimes it does need a little more dash of water, but mostly it doesn't. Usually once you get your hand in there and start pulling it together, like if it's sticking together like that, it's probably right. So don't be tempted to give it water quite yet. So I'm gonna take that and just kind of, you could get it out on the counter. I find my counters are always got something going on. There's always stuff out, not enough flat surfaces to work with. So I usually just try to do it in the bowl. I might pick it up and kind of work it with my hands. Again, make sure your hands are nice and clean. And it is a little bit sticky. So that tells you that you don't need more water if it's sticky like that. You also really don't necessarily need more flour. All I'm trying to do is make sure that that bit of starter that I put in there is worked through. And that's probably the only thing about doing a stiff start. It's a little messier, but hands wash up really easily, right? So push that up a little. So yeah, I'm just working it through. It's a little stickier than normal. I might have sometimes weather conditions affect that. I don't really know like how, but I know like on rainy days, making candy, whatever, sometimes it doesn't work as well. Okay, so I've got my nice little ball of starter. I'm just gonna drop it in a bowl, just like that size. That's like magnifying. That looks like much bigger in there than it actually is. But I'm gonna put a cover on that, and I'm just gonna let it sit on my counter. And it should rise a little, should sort of expand, like it looks like a ball right now, and it should kind of expand where it just sort of fills the bowl. That's probably about the right size bowl for that amount. It probably will fill it actually, if it's warm. If it's cold, it might take a few days before it would do that. And that is starter that when it rises, it's ready to make bread, but the amount that you've fed it, you probably won't have quite enough to make your bread and save back some starters. So I will show you next if I'm gonna make bread. I'm gonna pause this and wash my hands off, and then we're gonna do almost the same thing, just different amounts. So let's pause it there.